Hi there, this is Josh from Literary Gladiators, and today I'm here with the newest foodie book tag. This is the 9th foodie book tag. We have done the cheese book tag, the cookie book tag, the butter book tag, the pasta book tag, the cannoli book tag, the sausage book tag, the seafood book tag, and the soup book tag. The newest foodie book tag is the sandwich book tag. So go grab your sandwich and maybe a few little bowl of potato chips or whatever you eat with your sandwiches, and let's get right into this. First one is Peanut Butter and Jelly, a work that serves as a great introduction to a particular topic. And the way that I structured this question is the fact that when people start preparing food, I would say especially with kids, the first thing that they learn how to make and put together is a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. In third grade, we were assigned to do a step-by-step process as to how to put one together, and in television shows, if little kids have to make something for their guests or for adults, it's usually a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. But my answer to this is James McNair's Cheese Cookbook. This is the very first book about cheese that I have read that is informative. And while there's brief details about the cheese at the very beginning, he sorts it out into soft, semi-soft, firm, and hard. And the fact that the introductions are brief, but at the same time they are very informative as to what I would want to know. And he has these multiple recipes that I really want to look into and perhaps do a hands-on review for. I also want to read through this so that I can give you guys a clear assessment to them. I only read it as a reference piece, and I review things based off of having read through them completely, unless I have a great grasp to it. And I think that next year will be the time where I get a greater grasp. Next one is Ham and Cheese, and for this, I'm looking for a working class work. And the first thing that comes to mind is from the very beginning of American Literature 2, when we went over Life on the Iron Mills by Rebecca Harding Davis, which that has to do with the grueling task of having to work hours upon hours with little sleep and little ability to engage in anything else that life had to offer in order to keep these iron mills running. And this backbreaking profession for very little profit is really something that I think about when it comes to working to your greatest extent. Next one is Grilled Cheese, a great experimental writer. And for that, I chose Ray Bradbury because you could say that he writes science fiction primarily, but what he writes is so reflective of so many speculative genres. It even reflects the literary fiction, which it really goes to show you how innovative Bradbury was when it came to taking the art of the written word to the next level. Next one is the Italian Sandwich, or Italian Sub. A bestseller you feel people need to check out. There's so many to choose from, but for this I'm choosing The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, and I would say the others in the Millennium Trilogy, especially The Girl Who Played with Fire, by Stieg Larsson. This was released posthumously after Larsson had passed away, and it made it big in America afterward as well. And this really made its way into the New York Times bestseller list, and rightfully so, because it is a really intriguing story. And I feel that Elizabeth Salander, while she is very mysterious, there's so much depth and wonder to her character, and I really feel that she is a protagonist that people need to talk about so much more. Next one is turkey. A writer you cannot go wrong with, and I enjoy a nice turkey sandwich. I like it with tomato, onion, and oil and vinegar while I'm at work. And for that, I chose John Grisham because I have read from him 4 books. I've read The Brethren, The Innocent Man, Playing for Pizza, and Time to Kill, and I like them all. They were all at least 4-star reads, and I feel that anything he writes, he either knows by heart or does such a great job researching that he turns into the expert at hand. Next one is the steak sandwich, or the cheesesteak. And that is a work that is subject to intense arguments. And the reason I chose this particular question is because people constantly are arguing over what cheese should be used, what defines a true steak sandwich. I like a pizza steak, which has tomato sauce and mozzarella cheese. The proper way is it's steak with, I want to say, it's either Cheese Whiz or American cheese, and onions, which John Kerry put Swiss cheese on his, and people say that that's why he lost the presidential election in 2004. But my answer to this is anything by Sylvia Plath, but particularly for me, Daddy and Lady Lazarus, because those are 2 of her most familiar works, and in my case, 2 works where she goes so over the top that I can't stand it, but others feel a sense of understanding. But you can just watch the discussions of Daddy and Lady Lazarus that we've had. I'll leave them down below. And those are some of our most viewed discussions, and but I think in general, people take the position that either Sylvia Plath wrote the way she did because of her emotional conditions, or they take the position that she went too overboard with how she compared herself to a Jewish person in the Holocaust, and her antagonizing forces that were either causing her emotional distress, or in some cases the doctors trying to save her, comparing them to Nazis, which that's the argument itself is something that can go on and on, but this is the sandwich book tag, so let's continue chowing down with the chicken parm sandwich. And that is the most fascinating topic you saw turn into a book. And for that I chose Banana, The Fate of the Fruit That Changed the World by Dan Koeppel. I must say that this is something that I need to read, but with regard to the topic at hand, not every day do you see a work of nonfiction targeted toward adults about bananas, and the fact that this has to do with its impact and how it is an endangered plant per se. How it's an endangered plant is definitely something worth reading, and I feel that this is certainly worth people's attention. I'm really glad that I came across it at the Book Garden. Next one is the Tuna Sandwich. A work you had low expectations about, but turned out being impressed by. And for that, I chose Ruby Fruit Jungle by Rita Mae Brown. I thought it was going to just be something that was really... I didn't know what to expect. I thought it was going to be a work of romance, but I think that it was very innovative and really straightforward and rebellious. And the protagonist in the work really had interesting expectations, but she was willing to go forward with them, even if it meant multiple detours along the way, whether it be from the status quo of that time or just struggles in general. Next one is a BLT, a morning read, and for me, it's a bit of a challenge to answer the question because my reading doesn't really change based off of time of day or week or month or year. But one book that I remember reading in the morning and really making my way through was Keep the Aspidistra Flying by George Orwell. I feel that Orwell's earlier works outside of Animal Farm in 1984 definitely deserve attention, and Keep the Aspidistra Flying is clear proof. Next one is S'mores, a work you would read while camping. And for that, I chose something that is a bit about camping, and that is Dark Mountain by Richard Lehman, which is a work of horror fiction that is easy to read, but greatly intense. And the fact that there are major camping scenes and how many of the great horrors occur during and because of this camping trip makes it something worthwhile. The next one is Hero, an anthology filled with all-star writers. And for that I chose 75 Short Masterpieces, which is edited by Roger Goodman and features so many amazing names, from Ray Bradbury to Richard Matheson to Shirley Jackson to Anton Chekhov to Nathaniel Hawthorne, and so many more people, including some of my lesser-known favorites like Ventura Garcia Calderon. Or at least Calderon is lesser known in America. The next one is the Dagwood, the largest, most intimidating book you read. And I'm going to choose a two-parter because both of them were relatively long, and one of them is the longest thing that I've ever read. And that is The Winds of War and War and Remembrance by Herman Wouk. War and Remembrance is 1,382 pages. This is a mammoth. The Winds of War is not as large. It's actually, it is over. This version is over 1,000 pages, 1,045. But I read these pretty close to one another in length, and this is pretty much one story. The main, according to Wouk, it's the story that he needed to tell, and I can definitely see why. And he really did tell it. I had an instructor that said that she read this overnight. She stayed up all night to read The Winds of War, which I would say that's quite something. Next question is, what's your favorite sandwich? And for me, it depends on my mood, but I like turkey sandwich with tomato, onion, oil, and vinegar. I like Italian sandwich. And I also like a chicken parm sandwich. I eat steak sandwiches too, like the pizza steak that I mentioned. But I'm not fond of lettuce, so if there's for any cold sandwiches, no interest in lettuce. And the last one is sandwich platter. Who do you tag? And for this one, I'm going to be tagging 12 people. There's my usuals, Peter from Peter Clark the Writer, Alyssa from Sushi Dragon Master, Grace from Grace Libby, Amy from the Dusty Bookshelf, Steve from Steve Donahue, who, after watching his epic soup book tag, I learned that he would not be the first choice when it comes to if you wanted to take a booktuber out to lunch, which one would it be? Maybe for him a trip to the bookstore or a trip to the park would be an ideal get-together, but maybe not a restaurant. Ellie from Ellie Jane, who I'm engaged in a buddy read with, so I thought that you might be interested in doing this when you start making videos again. Becca from My Dreams of Reading. Jay from JD Archer or JD's Journeys. Ben from Ben Sanders. Raina from Raina Little. Rosie from Rosie Lee. And Andrew from Literary Gladiators. The reason I'm picking Andrew is because first time that when he attended a literature club meeting that I held when I was still going for my associates, he was eating a peanut butter sandwich. I want to say it was peanut butter and banana. So the first thing I saw him eat was a sandwich. So if you ever want to do the sandwich book tag, go right for it. Consider yourself tagged. And anybody else that wants to complete these foodie book tags, I highly encourage you to do so because I have so much fun making them, and I have even more fun watching other people's responses. Thank you for tuning in to this newest foodie book tag. I have many more in store, and for now, keep reading.